12 to go. I don't know why I'm being so slow. I also feel like the science materials are real science. Sometimes. But it's definitely real research. Because I feel like all the stuff I do is like macro level. I'm always trying to understand. Actually, no, this is the first time I'm actually trying to understand a micro level and working with micro level things. Everyone's a bit macro, so it doesn't feel like real science when I'm working on the macro level for me, because like I like detail, so it just feels like I know it's real science. I'm thinking probably could be more here. The ring might not be in the picture. We're not doing a photo shoot in the lab. Should I not be taking videos of myself in the lab? Maybe. Should I definitely be focusing on my work? 100%, but I am. Just feel like getting snapped again. Yeah, because like this is boldness. It's like I do not care what your parents say about me. I do not care anymore. That's part of the reason. I'll be honest, that's part of the reason I like Snap. It's like people saying I'm weird, and why am I posting about weird stuff like, you can just go in your merry way and not have no Snap. Cause, sorry, I don't reply to messages. Yeah, I don't. Sorry, not sorry. I'm not putting anything weird on my, anything like, wrong on my Snap, so it's not, and people are like, oh, you're oversharing. If I want to share it, I'll share it. If I don't want to share it, I'm not going to share it. It's really, I don't know why, not David Goggins, YouTube, podcasts I've listened to, you changed my mind. Because I'm just thinking, I'm out here tiptoeing upon my life for people who don't care about me. I shouldn't say they don't care about me, I'm sure they do to some degree. But like, so dumb. So dumb. Wait, have I done 5? It's plateauing, isn't it? It does take a while to plateau actually. Let's see, is there a difference in the value? 2.203. Short me outfits. And again, this is what, like 3 minutes. No one's asking me to watch this. I'm probably not even good. That's one thing as well. I don't watch my snaps. I don't even watch other people's snaps. So it's kind of like, why am I putting this into the work? Because I want to. Okay? Let me find a reason later on, but guess what? For now, it's because I want to. I know working on the YouTube channel as well is kind of like, why? Well, the YouTube channel is more like thought out because I'm like, ihsan, excellence, how do we strive towards excellence, all of that good stuff. Make fun of it, your problem. I'm actually going to see if I post the video for just cathartic. Well, I guess actually the reason for this one is because I'm trying to take screenshots for WhatsApp profile photo. I want it to be giving food vibes, so like food is scientist, food is Jersey athlete. I'm just someone who likes to push myself, work myself into the ground physically, so I just go for other sport I think it's going to be challenging. I'm not saying the ones that I left behind weren't challenging, for some reason it didn't work out. Gymnastics is more like my scheduling more. boxing was amazing at Cambridge. The one here is so. Anyway, that one was good. As much as I loved it, and every time I go to a competition, it takes me like a whole month to heal. For my legs, especially. I don't like that at all. Bruises and stuff, compared to boxing. I don't know, I never really was training boxing. I was in the deaf school, so I only did the training. I never actually, shadow boxing. I never actually fought someone. Sparred, as they'd say. Like the way I've done with taekwondo. Fencing was just boring. I think it was too much mental energy. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm supposed to be so smart. And I am intelligent, but that's not why I want to apply my analysis. Plus, what's the phone? And act at the same time, I think it doesn't really work. Especially when I'm actually trying to think. And obviously you can't analyze the opponent beforehand. I guess you can, but I also need something that gets my heart rate up. I like something that's which is why fencing is really last. It is, it's a good sport in itself, and I was inspired by. Actually, I'm gonna post this video on the YouTube one since I'm not gonna download Snapchat anytime soon. Oh yeah, okay, so like I said, YouTube is my fault. So let's actually talk about some useful things. So for example, the video of the podcast I listened to made me feel so free. Recently, because I was in a really bad place when I listened to this, and I was just I just need to not be here right now. And I've been in this place multiple times, but I want to get myself out of the place in a way that it's somewhere. I'm not saying I'm never gonna come back here, but when I come back here, I have tools to. Obviously, I would never come back to that way, hopefully ever again. But even if I do, I shouldn't be phased and should just have a plan. So for example, I was in this park, just I'm so done with life, as I usually am. Sometimes. And it was just, I don't know why that episode really stuck out to me, and I was just okay, I'm gonna listen to this episode. And as I was listening to it, so many things he said. Okay, yeah, points of what resonated. Point one, I might be going backwards. I'm just gonna go in terms of levels of importance. Point one was when he was talking about these people are stuck with everything, and I knew you see it sometimes on YouTube, procrastination is a trauma response, or something. And then the way he said it just made so much sense. It was just whatever it is that's in your mind that you're trying to block and deal with is not allowing you to actually just challenge yourself and just be the best of you. And he was talking about how people asking him, the way David Goggins just go hard. He was go hard, stay hard. And he was people asking him are you happy? He was I don't know. I don't feel empty. It was bars. Being empty is worse than not feeling happy, because happiness comes and goes, but feeling empty, that one is, I don't know about you guys, but that one is a separate type of. I'm trying to be there again. But essentially, what he went on to talk about was that when you challenge yourself, you just have this level of self-confidence in what you can achieve and who you are, that just spurs you on whenever you need it. So he was kind of talking about when he's trying to take the exam, and he's just his old self, or one of the voices that is saying not voices, they're hallucinations, but one of the, what do you want to call it, one of the personas in his head is kind of going oh, you're not going to be good at anything, blah blah blah. But he's look, all of this, I've done this test multiple times and I've passed multiple times and I keep passing. So whenever you have that, you never really get to that deep level empty, because you have, I'm not talking about something to show for yourself, I'm talking about how much people still feel empty, yes, you have a lot of money, or you're given talks of differences. It's kind of the challenge that gets you to do those things is what builds it. So if you're someone who's just I don't know, naturally able to talk to people, you're not going to find that it's oh, this is something I overcame. But when you actually struggle through something and you come on the other side and you're who took you to the other side? Me, obviously, me and my being Muslim, is kind of whatever you're able to do is Allah who's giving you the ability. And I was listening to this pretty long podcast, and I was talking about how much do you have to pay for your eyes? How much do you have to pay for your brain? How much do you have to pay for your nose? Most people, nothing. Obviously, some people have had complications and stuff, but it's kind of we've been blessed. So for you too, we've been blessed by Allah without without asking. We didn't have to pay for anything for our eyes, and all the things that we've been blessed with. So to now say it's all me, but essentially with like, you know, understanding that whatever you can do and whatever you are doing is by the grace of Allah, and realizing that you're kind of like, okay, Allah has given me the ability for me to be able to challenge myself and get myself to this point. You know, if it was public speaking, like now you've actually been able to overcome your stutter and actually get you to the point where you're doing your public speaking. So like that in itself gives you a level of like, I got this, and in a way that you don't diminish it, because like, and he was, so that's point number one. And then point number two, he was talking about like going through the demons in your cupboards every day. Because you know how I do good psychotherapy, and like it's kind of like, you know, when you're in the session you're supposed to like bring it all out and stuff, but like what he said makes sense. Whatever it is in your mind, and I didn't realize this, like, you know, with Jummu'ah Mubarak was talking about automatic negative thoughts, but it's kind of like, instead of just trying to kill the thoughts, kill the source of the thoughts, which is the demon from the skeletons in your cupboard, whatever way you want to think about it, and okay, whatever way you want to think about it. And to think my lab light is being my ring light is so funny. Whatever way you want to think about it, and the demons are always there. Whatever automatic negative thought is what they're spewing out, but if you just attack the demon, you're doing so much better. And he's talking about like, you face the demons and you do that spiritually every single day. And I was like, damn. And ever since then, whenever there's like thoughts coming, I always try to dig and be like, okay, this is the trail. Let's think about this. This is the trail of ants coming from that demon in the cupboard. I'm gonna take those ants to that demon and then like open the cupboard and clear it out. Sometimes the demon gets back in. You need to do this every day. And obviously personal things that come up for me. But kind of like, I'm trying to think of which example is not too revealing. I see like, you know, things about other people, but kind of like, okay, one, like I, even though like, you know, I've gotten to this level of education, even a PhD, blah blah blah, I still feel intellectually inferior. And I went back to that, I was kind of like, because there was something, oh god, now it seems like, oh my god. Anyway, there's something that happened in my life that basically just made me think, how could I let that happen? A series of things happened, I just like, how could I let that happen? And I feel like since then is when I've been telling myself I'm so dumb, because only a dumb, that can only happen to a dumb person. And I didn't realize like that's part of the reason. And then other things like, you know, I feel like people see potential in me that I just don't know where they're seeing it from, or how they're even seeing it. But like, and then it gets to the part where like whenever I don't fulfill that potential, I feel like, you know, there must be something wrong with me, I'm so dumb. But like, obviously part one of the intellectual inferiority, now that I've dug through the demon, is like that thing that happened to me, when have this self-narrative like I'm such a dumb person. Because I think about it, back when I was younger, I never used to, like, I'm even now, like, I'm not saying I'm not smart, but I'm just like, the way I used to think about it, okay, you know, there are things that I can't do. I don't know, I was like, you know, the things people find hard, I find easy, and the things people find easy, I find hard. That's kind of the way I thought about it. But then, as I grew up, it became like, I'm a dumb, smart person. Yes, I'm still part of the smart crew, but I'm a dumb person. I don't know how we got, well, I do know how we got there, part of these. So that's the first facet of that thing happening. The second one is kind of like the potential people seeing me and me not realizing it. What I've realized is kind of like, I do have things that I'm good at and not good at within the thing. So for example, like within research, within science, I'm not very good, and I don't like the boring stuff about like admin, write-ups and stuff. So it means that, you know, for example, I'm working on something and I don't finish it before the deadline, because like I'm just actually focused about doing the research itself. I don't care about getting it done by a particular deadline. So things like that factor into my, I don't know, inability to, as David Goggins said, like, especially with Jewish people who are like feeling empty, it's kind of like you haven't really tapped into yourself. And I feel like that's something, I feel like I haven't really tapped into myself, and I really want to. And he was like, the way you do that is actually just doing those challenging things, you know, staying up all night to finish that report, because instead of just handing in a semi-baked work, which ends up getting a decent score. But just imagine if you actually put in the work to get that to a level where I actually know, okay, I've actually finished this. And whenever I actually do the rare times I do, it's always amazing. And they always ask me like, how comes your other thing was like this? And I'm just like, well, those other ones were not finished, or I didn't have the time, whatever it is. And I feel like that disparity has always made me think, of course I'm dumb, but it's just realizing that I need to push myself, and it's not as easy for me as much, because it's kind of like, if I have the, I shouldn't say unfair advantage, but if I've been blessed enough to, you know, find all this research stuff easy, then of course it's going to, I shouldn't say of course it's going to, but in my case it comes with the other side of, I get too carried away with the actual thing, because I really like what I do, and I do it I don't think about the other parts that actually culminate in the concrete, the other things that actually culminate in the concrete, what's the word? I shouldn't say concrete achievement, but concretely measurable markers of success. Yeah, let's call it that. The concretely measurable markers of success. And I need to realize that I'll work on it, because like what a friend said to me once was like, even as a researcher, if you can't communicate your scientific research to the people who actually need it, or people who can actually make it useful, what are you doing? So it doesn't matter if you like develop the cure for cancer, if you can't communicate that to people, you can't get it to the people who actually need it, it's almost like it never happened. So because I'm just like, oh yeah, let's just work on this. I don't work on cancer research, by the way, but yeah, I'm just like, you know, let's just work on this. And I don't realize that. Sorry, I don't realize that. Like, I feel like I realized it back in life, but I feel like now I'm actually really seeing like, yes, of course. So as much as I love to spend time in the lab and do my research or whatever it is, I don't actually take the time to write that right up, or to collaborate with other people and like, you know, get my mind to explore, because like my mind does really well in terms of like being creative, coming up with ideas, but imagine how much better that would be if I actually talk to other people in the same field and build on their stuff and just collaborate, like limiting myself again. So yeah, what other thing was very important? Like, I'm gonna listen to that podcast like multiple times and take notes and stuff, as I usually do, because it was just very dense, and it got me where it got me to, and even now, for example, like waking up for tahajjud. So this is not just like academic pursuits. It does say it decays solution, hydrogen peroxide, so I'm seeing a shoot up, peak, and then rise down. But yeah, it's challenging yourself in all fronts, because people always talk about how amazing it is to be like a new Muslim, and like, you know, Muslims were born Muslim like myself, but like we've just been staying stagnant. I shouldn't say like myself, I try not to stay stagnant, I always try to push harder, but it just made me realize like we should always be challenging ourselves. And you talked about like the anterior cingulate cortex and all of that stuff, but some other time. I feel like this is just like a very good like resource that I'm going to be talking about in multiple videos probably. But anyway, what was the point I was trying to make? Oh yes, Islamically. So it's not just in the academic front, all the other demons and the other places, but even just like Islamically, for example, it was like challenge yourself to do things that are good for you. And just to clarify, the challenge we're talking about things that are good for you, because I feel like I need to be told things very directly, because I'm just like, okay, challenge. Don't think, okay, challenge, marathon is a challenge, I'm gonna run a marathon. Think of challenges that would be good for you. So for example, he was like, because Andrew Huberman, which is the podcast this was on, talked about the example of like, you know, someone who met him while